Donald Trump's name has appeared in documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein. That much is already public record. But what's even more significant right now is the attention on other names that have surfaced. Names of people who had business or social ties to Epstein and whose roles haven't been fully scrutinized. There's new reporting circulating today mentioning that Melania Trump's name also appears in connection with Epstein-related materials. These reports raise questions about past social events and connections, and while nothing is proven beyond the fact of those mentions, it's clear the scrutiny is expanding beyond just Donald Trump himself. We're going to break down what this new information says, what's confirmed so far, and why it may be causing panic inside Trump's circle. But before we do, please take a moment to leave a like on this video and hit the subscribe button if you enjoy our channel. It really helps support our work. Now let's start with today's update from Representative Robert Garcia on the latest Epstein-related disclosures.
Robert Garcia. Now, we just received some new Epstein files and documents from the Epstein estate, and some of the names are going to surprise you. Now, in this actual batch, we've got flight logs, we've got financial records, we've got information about Epstein that goes back 30 years that we just received. The files show evidence of scheduled meetings with Peter Thiel and Steve Bannon, as well as a pending trip by Elon Musk to Epstein's infamous island. Did he go? That question needs to be asked. We also know other folks are listed as passengers, including Prince Andrew. And the more files we get, the more we realize how vast Epstein's network really was. It spanned the globe, reaching high places and powerful people. And like I've said before, I don't care how much money you have, how powerful you are, or if you're a Republican or a Democrat. If you harmed the women and girls, you deserve to be exposed, and we have to get justice for the survivors. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, has the power right now to release all of the files. We need them released. Release the files immediately. Thanks so much.
I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it whenever we talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Transparency matters. Right now, the Department of Justice is reportedly blocking NBC News from obtaining the identities of two Epstein associates who each received large wire transfers, one for $100,000 and another for $250,000, with no clear explanation of what those payments were for. If those details were public, they could potentially open up new leads in the ongoing effort to uncover information that has so far been locked away. This is how we learned about Epstein's so-called birthday book and other disclosures, including new flight log data, raising fresh questions about who may have been associated with Epstein. Representative Robert Garcia and other members of the House Oversight Committee have been pushing to get this information directly from the Epstein estate. And that's why we're learning more. It's also why some people connected to this story, including former President Trump, are so determined to keep these documents sealed. As I've said before, if you keep pulling at this string, more and more information will unravel. Even Trump allies like Kash Patel have struggled to deny the presence of Trump's name in Epstein-related records, as we've already seen.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out?
Yes
if you're gonna mock
or no, Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No? A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F?
it sounds like you don't want to tell us. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files?
Why don't you try serving your constituency by focusing on reducing violent crime in this country and the number of pedophiles that are legally harbored in your sanctuary cities in California? I'll work with you on that.
Regular order, Mr. Chairman.
I'm
the gentleman from California.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The question has been asked and answered.
You've not answered it, and we will take your evasiveness as a consciousness of guilt.
It is so obvious that Kash Patel is trying to avoid perjuring himself again. But it's interesting because the question by Eric Swalwell is really like, is Trump's name in the Epstein files? But he didn't ask which one. There are lots of Trumps, and we know that the beginning of Donald and Melania's relationship certainly had a lot to do with Jeffrey Epstein, but we really haven't known how much yet. And I think that it is important to point out that as we talk about how notably absent Melania Trump has been in Trump 2.0, I know that some of it might have to do with the fact that she doesn't want her dark past being brought into the Epstein scandal. She didn't want to be around Donald Trump during his Stormy Daniels trial, and now that they're both on trial, she certainly doesn't want her name dragged into the mud. But I'm sorry, that already happened when you were hanging out with Epstein and throwing parties, which was detailed in this Daily Beast report right here. Epstein bought Andrew massage just before party with Melania. Prince Andrew had a $200 massage paid for by trafficker Jeffrey Epstein the day before both men partied with Donald Trump. The royalist can reveal the payment is shown in new documentation released by Democrats on the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform and forms part of the third batch of documents to be released from the Epstein estate, and a list of payments made by Epstein. 2 entries for massage are shown with the reference Andrew. One of these is dated May 16, 2000, just days after Andrew flew by private jet from New Jersey to Palm Beach with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The other Andrew massage payment of $200 is dated February 11th. The very next day saw Andrew and Epstein party with Donald Trump and Melania Trump at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Florida. A dated photograph of Andrew and Epstein with Melania has been widely circulated. The Democratic Oversight Committee's press release listed a roll call of Epstein's political and Silicon Valley acquaintances, including Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and Steve Bannon. Oversight spokesperson Sarah Guerrero said, "It should be clear to every American that Jeffrey Epstein was friends with some of the most powerful and wealthiest men and Melania in the world. Every new document produced provides new information as we work to bring justice for the survivors and victims. Oversight Democrats will not stop until we identify everyone complicit in Epstein's heinous crimes. It's past time for Attorney General Bandy to release all the files. Now, it's important to point out how the connections in these circles have been portrayed, not just between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, but also through figures like Melania and Ghislaine Maxwell. Donald Trump has often argued that he was never truly close with Epstein, that they may have crossed paths socially, but were not real friends. However, photographs showing Melania in the same company as Prince Andrew and Epstein suggest that these associations were, at the very least, part of the broader social environment they were in. That context makes Trump's denials harder to separate from the reality of who moved in those circles at the time, and it helps explain why both Donald and Melania now appear eager to distance themselves from it all. Trump, in particular, has leaned into attacking political opponents, not only as part of his broader agenda, but also as a way of distracting from stories like this. Representative Jasmine Crockett highlighted this dynamic last night, especially in how it connects to Trump's attacks on James Comey, and she broke it down clearly in this clip right here.
Absolutely. This is an opportunity for someone to make a name for themselves, because inevitably, if they are halfway competent, they should be able to win. They should push this thing to the limit. When you were just having your conversation about whether or not the defendant should then start pushing for, say, a speedy trial, which is something that is actually codified on the federal level, and it is actually very quick. Last time I checked, it's 60 days. So, yeah, I would absolutely push forward and say, let's go. And I think they're going to have a harder time trying to figure out who's going to actually prosecute the case than he will have trying to find somebody to defend the case.
We've seen just this week, I mean, we had the FCC threatens Jimmy Kimmel and threatens both the local affiliates and Disney to take him off air. Ultimately, he comes back. The president threatening George Soros today. Reid Hoffman, another individual who's a liberal software rich guy, saying, tossing out their names, signing an executive order, talking about criminal investigations of the funders of, left-wing domestic terrorists. He has been talking about you a lot. He seems sort of somewhat obsessed with you, and likes to hurl a lot of insults your way. Like, what do you make of the developments of this week in terms of this regime trying to criminalize dissent?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I want the American people to know that when you stand up to a bully, you win. Do not back down. Do not bend. You allow them to go and wage their threats. If everybody starts to bend, for sure what is left of our democracy will be gone. And unfortunately, that is exactly what he wants. And even more sadly, is that many of his followers agree with this. And I am thinking to myself, how is it that you can call yourself American or patriotic when you literally don't understand who we are as Americans, when you literally are okay with throwing out the Constitution, when you're okay with someone just deciding, you know what, this is the end result that I'm seeking, and so just figure out how to get there, versus doing what you are supposed to do. And I am so appalled at those that took an oath, at those that actually went to law school. Many of us ended up with law school debt. And then we have to take not only the bar exam, but we have an ethics exam that we have to take, because there is supposed to be some level of ethics in what we do when we go into a courtroom. Now you have people that literally either they just don't know the law or they just don't care. But the idea that you would go after someone, and listen, even as Democrats, we had our fair share of issues with James Comey, okay?
Donald Trump's run for president wasn't just about power. It was also about protecting himself and making sure he stayed out of serious legal trouble. And now, one of the biggest challenges he faces is the Epstein scandal, which he wants to cover up or push out of the spotlight at all costs. That's why we see him attack anyone who holds him accountable, while also trying to create distractions so the media spends less time focusing on Epstein. But here's the thing. While these distractions are real and dangerous, we always need to keep sight of the bigger picture, a pattern of corruption, self-interest, and abuse of power that defines his approach. That's what we're here to call out, and that's what we'll keep exposing on this channel. If you'd like to support this work, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a like on the video. And if you've made it all the way to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.